How's it going, football fans around the world, and welcome back to my channel. So yesterday, breaking news from Fabrizio Romano. He reported that Bayern were going to sack Julian Nagelsmann, and then it felt like moments later, he then reported that they were going to replace him with Thomas Tuchel. Well, this morning, we wake up from the news from Bayern Munich that is to come true. They then sacked Julian Nagelsmann and then hired Thomas Tuchel. And what a move it is. What a move it is. But you know what? I couldn't hate it more. We'll get into that in a bit. But right now, let's just talk about why Bayern have done this and what does this look like now for Bayern Munich. So yesterday at the time when I was reading this from Fabrizio, I couldn't tell you why. The only reason that made sense to me at the time is that Julian and the board and directors didn't have a good relationship behind the scenes. And I even made a video giving my reasons why I believe they fired him. But I decided not to post that because then the next morning we get more reports from Fabrizio Romano. And one of the reports was from the director. I can't pronounce his name, but the director said of Bayern, "This was most difficult decision of my time as director. I have had open, trusting, friendly relationship with Julian. I really wish Nagelsmann all the best. I regret the separation from Julian." So when I read that, I then thought to myself, okay, so then it's not because Julian and the board and the directors have a bad relationship. And that even left me even more confused because you can't tell me they fired Julian because of how things were going in recent performances. Because although maybe this isn't the most dominant Bayern side, it's still a really good Bayern side. A Bayern that is second in the league, only 1 point behind Dortmund, still with a game to play against them. And then a Bayern side that hasn't lost once in the Champions League. Not once. They haven't lost once. They haven't drawn once. And better yet, they've only conceded twice throughout the whole tournament. So you can't really tell me it's because of results. And you know what? I get it. I know stats and results don't always tell the full story. I will be the first one to tell you that because way before Manchester City kind of had a dip in form, I was screaming for a month before it even happened that I didn't think Manchester City were playing up to standard. So look, I get it. Results and stats don't always tell the whole story. But to me, Bayern, I believe they were still in a good spot. I rate Julian a lot. I think he's a really good young manager who has a lot of potential. So you can't tell me it's because of results. But then some more reports from Fabrizio come out. And one of them says, Bayern decided to act fast for Thomas Tuchel. He was an option for Tottenham and potentially Real Madrid. They did not want to miss out on their favorite candidate. Why Nagelsmann out? Internal issues, player situations, and then he put a link to one of his videos. I would encourage you to check him out. We all know the fantastic work that Fabrizio does, and I don't just want to repeat what he says in that video, but he said it right there in that tweet. Internal issues and players situations. So it sounds like from that and other links and reports that we've seen from other sources, the common theme was, and what they all stated was, is that behind the scenes, Nagelsmann and the Bayern board and directors didn't have the greatest relationship. But a quote from the Bayern director himself said that they did have a good relationship. So then I'm just confused. I'm like, yo, you can't tell me it's because of results. And apparently it's from the director. It's not because they had a poor relationship, but from other reports, it says it is because they had a poor relationship and that the players were losing confidence in him. And it was just a whole lot of confusion for me. But then later, way later in the day, another report comes from Fabrizio Romano saying why Nagelsmann sacked. A quote from Oliver Kahn: "Quality of our squad has shown less and less often. Since January, we played less and less successfully and attractively. Strong fluctuations in performances put our goals in danger this season, but also beyond this season, so we reacted." Okay, that right there makes a little more sense. Now, although I said I rate Julian and I don't think he's having a bad season at all. I mean, to be second, only 1 point behind Dortmund, and to have a undefeated record in the Champions League so far after being in a group with Barcelona, Inter Milan, and then facing PSG in the round of 16, to be still undefeated and to only concede twice, I think you're doing a hell of a job. But if you were to ask me who I believe was the favorite to win Bayern versus the Manchester City game, I would have told you that I believe Manchester City are. Because when I seen the draw as a Manchester City fan, I was obviously nervous because it's Bayern Munich, a Champions League juggernaut, a team that has won this multiple times, more than I could ever dream of. But I still believe that our manager's way better and that we have the better team overall. We have the better players. So if you were to ask me who I thought would win that, I would have told you Manchester City. Now, not too confidently, but confident. Like if I were to tell you percentage-wise, 60-40 in favor of Manchester City. But now that Tuchel's at the helm, I'm now shitting myself. I am now a lot less confident about Manchester City going through. And it's not because I don't think our players can't do it. It's not because I think Tuchel's a better manager than Pep Guardiola. It's because of two things. One, Tuchel has already defeated Pep Guardiola and Manchester City in the Champions League before, which was actually in the Champions League final, as we all know. And as we know, history tends to repeat itself in the Champions League. And number two, that whole BS situation of managers and teams having a manager's high for whatever reason when a new manager comes in, right? We've all heard it. We've all witnessed it. It doesn't matter how bad of a team you are. If you bring in a new manager, most of the time for the next 3 to 5 matches, you go on some run of form. It could be fake form. It could be all a lie. Most teams tend to go back to how they were playing and how shit they were before. But for a team like Bayern Munich, for as much quality as they got, that 3 to 5 matches can turn to 10 to 15. I mean, just ask Tuchel himself. He was able to steady the ship back at Chelsea when they were like in 10th or 8th place in the league. He somehow got them back in the top 4. Not only that, as I mentioned before, he then went on to defeat my Manchester City side in the Champions League finals. So, to me, this is not because Julian had a bad relationship with the board or with the director. This is not because of recent result. This has nothing to do with Julian's failure as a manager. I think he's done a fantastic job. I think he's a fantastic manager with a lot of potential. And I think to most footballing fans, coaches, managers, players, they would agree. Why Bayern have decided to do this is probably a bit of an overreaction of how potentially the season was going to end. Because like I said, if you were to ask me who I believe was going to come out of the quarterfinal of the Champions League, I would have told you Manchester City. Not only that, they're at risk of not winning their league. Oh my God, what a devastation that would be. We just didn't win it 10 seasons in a row. That would be devastating, right? Ooh, piss off. But yeah, it's because they did this out of fear. It was a bit of an overreaction. They had a world-class manager in the market. They probably wouldn't have had this opportunity ever again because, there was interest from other clubs like Tottenham, which I don't think he would have ever gone to Tottenham. But the other name, Real Madrid, and if Real Madrid ever calls your number, it's almost impossible to say no. So what Bayern Munich did, they jumped the ship and they got their man. So that is, to me, the reason as to why Bayern fired Julian and hired Tuchel. They were, like they stated, a bit concerned of how the season was going to go, how it was going to end. They potentially could not have come out with anything at all. I think that is unlikely. I thought that was going to be unlikely, but potentially could have happened. And so they said, you know what? Let's hire a new manager, someone who's been in this position before, a by far worse position, right? I mean, Chelsea were in the bin at the time he came. I mean, what he was able to do with them is nothing short of a miracle. And so he thought, okay, let's bring in a manager who's done this before. He's a world-class manager. Not only that, Tuchel's known for working miracles. He worked a miracle of Chelsea, and he worked a miracle of PSG. I mean, the fact that he was able to get that PSG side to a Champions League final is legendary itself. Not only that, he probably should have won that final, right? I mean, that is almost legendary. So, yeah, am I mad? Is it a bad choice from Bayern to have hired Tuchel and to fire Julian? No. Is it a bit confusing? Yes, because like I said, I don't think this has anything to do with what Julian did. He's a 35-year-old manager. He's already achieved so much at such a young age. I do believe this is a bit of an overreaction because, like I said, the potential with Julian is to be seen, and it could be very high. I mean, this guy is only 35 years old, so I really do feel bad for him. But then again, on the other side of the coin, it's not like Bayern then replaced him with some scrub, with some unproven manager. No, they then replaced him with Thomas Tuchel. So, I mean, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on this, especially you Bayern fans. How are you guys feeling? Are you guys mad about it? Are you guys upset? Are you guys happy about it? Or like me, are you just a bit confused by it? So, yeah, now let me get into the part of the video where I tell you I hate this. And the reason I hate this, and you may already know, is not because I think it's a bad move. It's out of fear. The fact that you guys have done this, you guys, ooh, I'm Bayern Munich, and I'm going to hire a new manager to ride that new manager high and win me the league and the Champions League. Like, honestly, grow up. Seriously now, like, I can't even blame you, honestly. We've seen this done in the past so many times, and it's worked so many times. If Tuchel comes out to win the league or just the Champions League, we're going to look back at this as a brilliant move because although I think Julian could have possibly done either of those himself, it was still very uncertain because, like I said, they are a point down in the league. And second reason is because I do believe before the appointment of Tuchel that Manchester City were most likely going to succeed in the next round. But now with Tuchel at the realm, it's really up. It's really up for grabs now. I mean, it always was, but now it's like, oh my God. Like I said, I am shitting myself. And this may even be now more into Bayern's favor. So screw you guys. F you, Bayern Munich. Please let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. Hit that subscribe button. There's a lot more content coming soon. If you've been a viewer of mine, if you've watched my recent videos, you may have noticed a difference in audio. And the reason being is because, let me show you, let me flex on you. I got a Shure mic. Yep, you're reading that right. A Shure mic. I am upgrading things now, yeah? I am a YouTuber. So a lot more content's coming out. I'm very excited. So hit that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, because you're not gonna want to miss out. So yeah, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.